The Charlie Kirk assassination shocked the country. We're going to talk about it tonight. Let's do it. Hey, what's going on? This is Josh. Welcome back to the Not Safe for Sunday podcast. Here we are again, boys. Here we go again. We're back at it. We're missing somebody, though. Spencer's MIA. But anyways, what's up, Ken?
Not much. Just enjoying fall. You know, just like I called it. Cowboys coming in at 1-2-1.
Yeah, that was it. Roll back. Let's play back the tape.
enjoying football season and the fall that I love, and I'm just loving the warm temps. You know, we're getting warm temps in fall. You know, you can't beat that.
It was almost 80 degrees today.
You're the guy who says you like fall for brisk temps and all
It's
that
not.
stuff.
It's not
now
sweltering.
Now you're loving
no.
warm temps and fall.
Warm for
Make up
fall.
your mind, pumpkin spice.
Warm for fall. Warm
Spice.
for fall. Okay.
This guy, we got to drop a picture too. There's clear evidence. If you go over to Java Shack in Dartmouth, there's clear evidence, and it has a quote by Kenneth Walsh all about pumpkin spice.
I saw that.
So he actually paid somebody or bribed somebody to
That's liberal propaganda.
put that in there. And no, I don't like pumpkin spice. Still to this day, I've not ordered a pumpkin spice in my life.
I don't believe it.
I don't know. That sign says otherwise. And
Well,
if it's on a sign, it's got to be true.
That's got to be true then, yeah.
It's a chalkboard sign. It took a lot of work to get that there.
I'm sure it did. Paige.
So that would be truth.
Paige, what's her new name? Paige Madeira.
Full name drop.
Full name drop, Paige.
Paige Madeira. Yeah, shout out to the Madeiras.
Yeah, shout out. Shout out to the whole gang. To Andrew, Paige, Brad Dixon, all of them.
Oh, we got to get into this. You've been name dropping this Brad Dixon, and you said you've done a little digging. You figured out who this commenter is?
Well, they actually just came up to me and told me. And and they said don't say it, but because I think you wanted to keep it from Daniel, but somehow Daniel knows.
I know.
So
I know all.
Oh, so let's do it like this first. First of all, what's up, Daniel?
Hey man,
How are you
doing?
How are you? Good to see you.
Great.
Great
Still
to see
rocking shorts.
Yeah,
No AC.
me
It's
too.
it's fantastic.
I'm with you, brother. Knees out.
That's it, baby. Let it all hang out.
Who do you believe Brad Dixon to be?
Well, I know who it is.
Okay.
yeah, it's not.
The person disclosed it to me.
All right.
Before I had no idea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had no idea who it was. I couldn't even guess.
So who is it?
It's Andrew.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's Andrew. And I guess
Oh.
the people who game with him, because that's his gamer tag.
Brad Dixon?
Yes.
What?
So I guess
Did he
that's
say
been
what?
his like.
All of his other friends have other names of Dixon. There's Brad Dixon, and there's, I don't know,
Oh, okay.
Chad
Richard Dixon or something.
Thad Dixon.
Dick Dixon. I don't know.
All right.
So, did he say why? That's his.
No, he just said that's been his like longtime gamer tag, and because I don't know, we were talking about the pod one day, and I think he asked me, I can't remember, and he gave it up that it was him. So
I can understand that though. My gamer tag is Carl Havoc. So
After Carl Weaver, dude.
Carl Havoc. No,
Carl Weaver
It's
from
it's
Jimmy
a-
Neutron.
Carl. I think was it Carl Weezer?
Oh, Weezer. That's
Yeah,
the one.
Carl Weezer, dude.
I
Yeah.
said Weaver.
No, it was from I Think You Should Leave. It's a sketch comedy show. Yeah.
You want to know mine?
Yeah. Yes, I do. First
I
of all,
can't even begin to imagine.
First of all, no need for an introduction. This is a man of the people.
The man who needs no
He
introduction.
needs no
The
introduction.
favorite of commenter Finding Peace Music 970 or whatever.
Whoever that is, let yourself be known because we think that. What's the username? Finding
Peace underscore Muse 970 or something.
Yeah,
like
we
that.
think that's Jake's persona, and he's giving himself.
Check out his music.
He's giving it away. He's giving it away. It's definitely you.
He's showing his cards. He's
What's
showing
up?
his hand.
So what's up, Jake?
How much?
All right. So what's your gamer tag?
Snoopy Camp.
Snoopy Camp.
So when I was traveling with my parents, we went to Minnesota, Mall of America,
Yeah.
and we went to Camp Snoopy.
Okay.
And I was in the middle of, when you try to make like a profile, a gamer tag, you get like denied a bunch of times, like
Yeah.
can't make this one, it's already been created. Can't make this one, already been created.
Yeah.
I just found Snoopy Camp, and now people that I play first person shooter with think I'm like a first person camper.
They think you camp.
They think I camp.
Okay.
Like
Oh
right off the
yeah, I
bat,
know what you mean.
so-
I know what you mean.
But I'm not as good as Andrew. Andrew is actually amazing at Call of Duty. Every time I jump into his games, it's like I go like 1 for 20 because he's just off the charts. Him and Toby.
Can we rewind 1 second? So you were traveling to Minnesota to Mall of America.
Yes.
And you went to Snoopy Camp.
Snoopy Camp. So I
please fill us in.
It's an indoor amusement park for Snoopy.
Got it. Thank you.
So yeah, whenever I was making,
I zoned out for a second, so I missed that. I think I fell asleep.
Yeah, sorry about that.
We know Ken's a big Peanuts guy.
No,
so.
I'm here.
That's it. I'm all about Snoopy.
Now, like, since I've made the profile, I'm like one with Snoopy.
You're one with Snoop. One with the Snoop.
One with the Snoop.
Some would call you Snoop Dogg.
Maybe.
I think the Bird's my favorite character.
Woodstock.
Yeah, Woodstock's my favorite character, I think. Johnny, what's up, man?
Nothing much, man. What's up with you?
Living the dream, kid.
Who's your favorite Snoopy character?
Yeah, what's your favorite Peanuts character?
Charlie Brown.
He's basic. I heard you're a big Pigpen guy. What's your gamer tag?
When I first got an Xbox, it was the Gamer Boy 04.
Okay. What is it now?
My
Gamer Boy.
PlayStation 1, I think, is John 2 Wavy.
John Pork 280.
John Pork.
Oh, by the way, I tried to pork Jake at Andrew and Paige's wedding. Speaking of Andrew and Paige, so I asked Connie, his lovely wife. I said, Connie, sneak me your husband's phone. So I was having a hard time, beaming it over, both the iPhones and all that, and airdropping it. So I texted him, saved it to his phone, made it my profile pic, and I guess, I don't know, I must have not deleted the text because I thought it was all set. I gave it back to Connie. Connie gave it to him. I called him, but he'd already seen that I'd porked him. So it kind of lost the.
You tried to pork the OG porker.
I did, but
you can't pork the master of porking.
See, they're like a Pastor Ken right there.
Master porker, dude.
It's not coming up, but that's okay.
Hold on, I'll just call you right now.
Here we go. Yeah, call me.
This makes for amazing podcast.
This is good content. This is great content, guys.
There it is. There it is.
John Pork is calling.
Oh man.
Oh
So
my
anyway.
goodness.
A little bit.
That's funny because Andrew came up to me on Sunday and said, "Are you John Pork?" And I'm like, "No, that's easily. If anybody on the podcast is John Pork, it's Jake.
Probably.
That's his guy.
It is.
That's his guy." Oh man. Yeah. I don't know if you guys have heard, but we missed the Rapture.
We did.
That's big news.
That is big news. Yeah. It was going to be what?
The 23rd?
23rd, I think.
23rd or 24th. Either way, I'm still here, so I'm nervous. Right, the 23rd?
We didn't make it, dude.
What's the origin story on that? It was a pastor from.
I'm not even sure, to be honest with you. Jake, pull up the Rapture. I think it was a TikTok thing.
But I think the person who came up with it was
Rapture.
from a different country, though. I think it was a pastor from another country, and he had
probably Africa.
A lot of followers. I think it was South Africa or something like that.
Yeah,
a lot of followers.
A lot of the
convinced.
African preachers are big on those big revival meetings where the rapture is going to happen, and
had his followers convinced that it was happening on the 23rd. So, yeah, fortunately, to my knowledge, it didn't happen.
Yeah,
the world may never know.
The world may never know. I just know it became a big thing on TikTok, and then I just remember actually hearing about it, watching the Daily Show. I was watching the Daily Show, and they were talking about it. I'm like, missed the Rapture, dude? Oh, that sucks. That stinks.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just the last of, or the most recent of many who have done that over the years. You know, and just try to convince a bunch of people that it's this date and this time and be ready and.
Yeah, I forgot there was another date. There was only one other time.
Wasn't it 2012?
I feel like September though.
It was
Isn't it always September? I
Yeah.
swear, I think it's always September.
I thought 2012 was December.
Oh, was it? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I thought December 2012, and then there was the 2000. There was 2000, the Y2K. Everybody brought toilet paper as they thought technology was going to take over the world.
Oh yeah,
all sorts of
no doubt
crazy stuff.
Jake, were you able to pull that up?
Not really.
No, having a hard time.
You're not on the screen.
Oh really?
You're
No.
crushing it.
Yeah.
Crushing it.
You're not there.
Spencer, we missed you.
I think Spencer inspired you to be good on that.
He kept me in.
Kept you on your game on that phone.
On the railroad tracks.
Oh man. Well, while you're looking that up, we'll get into this main topic because we need to have we're gonna have a pretty good discussion tonight about what happened. So
not that anything like really important's happened in the news lately, but
nothing at all. Well, by the time this comes out, who knows, dude?
There'll be 5 more things.
Yeah, who knows where we'll be at? But basically, we wanted to have a discussion tonight because it's kind of taken the world by storm in the last few weeks. Oh, here it is. Here September 23rd, right on my anniversary, dude. I didn't get raptured on my anniversary.
All right, scroll it up a little bit. Does it give you the history of it? Keep going, because I think there was a very specific. There we go, Joshua Mikael
of where?
South Africa.
Hey, I nailed it, dude. I'm telling you. I see the Instagram reels, dude.
But in this story, he says he disavows himself as a pastor. He's just a believer. He said, "I'm not no titles. I'm not a pastor. I'm just a believer." Anyway. Yeah, so another one bites the dust on that one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Josh, back to you. Josh, before you go any further, should our listeners and viewers do anything real quick?
Yeah, they should.
Okay.
So real quick. Make it fast. You can go on, like, review, subscribe, give us a shout out, mention your name in a comment, and we'll shout you out on a future episode.
No doubt.
Don't stay anonymous. Don't be like, what is it,
Relaxation Music 970, aka Jake's lover account.
Yeah. Let yourself be known to us so we can shout you out on a future episode. So don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, please. But yeah, so anyways, back to the main topic. So before the rapture happened, back on September 10th, Charlie Kirk, obviously, if you haven't heard about it in the news, I mean, this is going to be shocking to you, but Charlie Kirk was assassinated at a college campus in Utah back on September 10th, and it really took the world, this country by storm, because the next few days after that, it just felt like an absolute a whirlwind of different emotion, different conversations, different debate happening after the fact. So we wanted to have a discussion about that, kind of get into some of the things that are being said, and get into a little bit about Charlie Kirk himself. So for those that don't know Charlie Kirk, so he's the founder of, what is it? Turning Point USA.
Yeah.
Which is a conservative.
Conservative. What's the word? Advocacy group. Yeah, advocacy group. Involved getting young people involved in politics and things like that.
So he would go around to different campuses, different college campuses around the country, different places around the country, and have debates with basically college students and things like that to kind of discuss a lot of the conservative topics that were kind of in the zeitgeist, I would say. I mean, for some people, I think rubbed the wrong way, and I think that's kind of where we led to with this assassination. So basically, it was at 12:33. I guess the suspect now is kind of been revealed as Tyler James. So he was a 22-year-old student at UVU. They're saying basically from 142 yards away, had shot Charlie in the neck. I think the biggest thing about this was how widely available that video was, because of the amount of people that would go to his events.
Yeah.
It was within minutes, like, that video was circulating. I was actually out with one of my carriers that day, and we were on a break, and he came running over to my car and was like, "Charlie Kirk got shot. Look at this video." And I'm like, that is the most insane thing I've ever seen in my. I've never seen anything that brutal in my entire life. And then there's just kind of after that took place, there's just kind of been this outpouring of different information, different ideas, different debate happening about who this person was, who Charlie was, who this kid is that shot him, and it's kind of led to some discourse in some areas, led to a lot of hurt, a lot of confusion in some areas. So I think this is a good point to jump off from. You guys, as leaders within the church, after this happened, did you guys? I'm sure you guys fielded a lot of people reaching out to you to kind of talk about this.
Not a ton. Like, it happened on a Wednesday, and then that night was our first hub night.
Yeah.
And I addressed it. We had actually a huge group. We had like over 50 people there, as we have been this fall, pretty consistently. But I addressed it as I knew it was on people's hearts and minds. As a number of the people that were there had told me that they came just kind of looking for a peaceful place and a place where they could just go and hear God's word and maybe pray. I haven't had, honestly, a lot of people reach out specifically about it, as I feel that, like, they've been so inundated, with it that, I don't know that, they were really reaching out and looking for anything that they've already not found or known or explored, Yeah. I also addressed it on the first Sunday, after that. And just because I think it's important that we address things like this when they happen. I didn't know a ton about Charlie Kirk, but like it seemed like my knowledge of him and who he was and what he did was growing over the last maybe several months, probably at least since like the election of 2024. And so I was aware of him, and he would come up in reels, quite a bit. So I was aware of him, but just I was actually, I had told Daniel when it happened. We were both at church, and I think I was at the lower level. You were up in the office, and I came up, and I was like, "Oh, did you just hear? What happened?" And the first video I had seen was like from a far away angle, so you can't really tell exactly. You knew he got shot, but you just can't really tell like the severity of it. And then I ended up seeing that like closer up video, and it's just brutal. One of the most horrifying videos I've ever seen in my life. Just and right away then too, as they're saying like he's at the hospital, he's fighting for his life. I was like, after I saw that second video, I was like, no, there's no way.
Yeah,
you don't live from that. So so I was really saddened by it, because here he's a young man, he's a father, he's a husband, you know what I mean, and he's a believer, and as you get to know him more, or as I got to know him more, you got to see really how much that was the basis of everything that he did was his faith. So you just kind of imagine like what's happening in the world that somebody is obviously disagreed with him in some way or another, to the point of assassination. I mean, we're in a really dark place. So that's, I think, the cloud that's been kind of hanging over since.
Dan, did you know much about him before this?
I'd only really seen a couple of videos here and there, those quick snap bites on reels and stuff. That was pretty much my knowledge of him. I wasn't like an avid follower. I couldn't tell you much about him. Just kind of knew his name, could recognize his face. Watched a couple videos here and there, but nothing too deep. I think after the fact, that's where a lot more has come out, and I've really like just dove into so much of it, and just been really, I think, consumed by all of it. And I don't know if it's just the fact that like, I'm a newer dad, and I just feel so much, us being close in age and stuff, and just feeling so much of that weight of like his wife and his kids being, left behind. I don't know why it is so much so that I feel like so affected by it, especially not having really known or followed too much of what Charlie Kirk was doing beforehand or anything. But I think it's just like that deeper sense of connection, that you just feel for his wife and for his kids. And I was coming hot off of the turmoil of that girl who got murdered in the North Carolina on the train. You know, I had just watched that video, and that I had never experienced, I think, anxiety before, but I think I had a real bout of anxiety like after watching that video. I think just the graphic nature of it, just like picturing what those moments were like, and then the Charlie Kirk assassination, and so it was just like so much back to back. That like week was kind of just rough. Really? It was just a rough week of a combination of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of my experience with Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, for me, that week, like, just the first, like, especially the first few days after that happened, because, I think, and Ken, you said it pretty good, or it might have been you, Daniel. I'm not sure. One of you guys said it, maybe during service, like if you need a break from social media, take the break, like. And I got to that point where I was like, I kind of need to like take a break, because what had happened afterwards, I feel like, was really like bothering me, because I just saw so much like division happening at that moment. Oh my goodness, I couldn't, like, it got to the point for me where like the way that people were talking, it was a lot of like, cause I'll be honest, like I wasn't a big Charlie Kirk fan. Like I watched a lot of his videos. Like I would see a lot of the stuff that he would talk about, and I wasn't like a big fan of his, and didn't really agree with. I could agree with some of the things that he was saying, but wasn't a fan of the way that he handled it, the way that he handled himself with a lot of that stuff. But when people were coming out and basically saying that Charlie Kirk is a modern day Christian martyr, and holding them up there with like Martin Luther King and JFK, and if you didn't agree, then now you are an evil person, and you must be a demon and stuff like that. And I was like taken aback. Like I literally sat back. I'm like, had to really think about it for a couple of days, and like talk to like some of my close friends, and like really made me question, like, am I not a Christian right now? Like I couldn't understand how these people could be so fully invested in this person, and because I wasn't, I really sat back and was like, am I missing something? Maybe I'm not a Christian. Maybe I'm not following the word as strongly as I am. For these people to so strongly believe this thing about this person and the way that he led his life, and then for me to sit there and be like, I don't agree with you at all, like maybe there's something wrong with me. Like that was like something that like I really had wrestled with. And then I was like, yeah, you know what? No, that's not the case. I know where I'm at, but yeah, it was really something that I struggled with for a couple of days.
Yeah, I think the difficulty is like afterwards, and like to answer your question, like, is he a martyr? I mean, he was a person who was outspoken about his faith, and I don't know that was necessarily like the main motivation of why he was killed.
Yeah.
The post I made, I don't like making social media posts after stuff like this happens, but I feel like in my position I kind of have to. So I really thought and prayed about it for a little while, and like late Wednesday night I made a post, and I quoted Ephesians 6:12, you know, which Paul states that we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Right. And I think at the end of the day, you know, whatever the motivation was, you know, if there's some deep conspiracy theory, and I know we may touch on some of those, you know, however it happened, you know, there's an evil right now in the world, and it is, and I think a lot of ways it is targeting people of faith. You know, yet I'll say yesterday, you know, we record this obviously before it airs, but yesterday, you know, like a Mormon church was attacked in Michigan. You know, a few weeks ago, a Catholic school was attacked in Minnesota. And these are things that are happening with much more frequency. Right. And I know that there's some that would want to like politicize that right away and then draw up two sides and say, well, no, it's because of this. And you saw that all throughout the Charlie Kirk thing. It's like people would justify how each one felt on both sides. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, Matthew 24, what I've been teaching on in church for a long time, it says they, you know, if they kill me, guess what? They're going to kill you. You know, if they persecuted me, they're going to persecute you. And there will come a time where they will, you know, they're going to come for you. So maybe his martyrdom, you know, I'm not a big person to put like sainthood or martyrdom on a person necessarily, but he was very, you know, I think what transcended politics was for him was his faith. And there's a number of videos that I've seen where he'll like whatever issue he was debating, he would put it onto the side and he would say, well, the most important thing for your life is that you'd have a relationship with Jesus Christ, because he's the only one who forgives sins. You know, so I think that I don't even know what my original point was now because I addressed what you just said, but I think that, you know, no matter what, there's intense evil, principalities and powers, and I think you're seeing in these evil days a target put on people of faith and Christians more than you have in some time, at least in this country. I mean, martyrdom has been having, you know, we talked about a pastor in Africa. I mean, there's a genocide of Christians happening in Nigeria right now, and you know, so I think in this country we're seeing it much more, and why wouldn't we? Because Jesus did say, you know, that we would in these end days. So
and I think the way that I looked at it was because, like I said, I didn't really agree with the way that he handled some things, but the way I looked at it was what he did do is he took the platform that he had through Turning Point USA, and he was able to get in front of a lot of people, and he did speak boldly about the Bible. Like, he did speak boldly about his faith, and I think for a lot of Christians, what I see is because to the point that you're making is there is this spiritual war that's happening that isn't necessarily with flesh and blood, and I think there's a lot of Christians that are afraid, and because he was just able to go out there and be so boldly and stand on it so firmly, I think that's what made a lot of people endearing to him is, wow, I wish I could have that level of faith, and I wish I could have that level of just passion and what it is that I do. And I think sometimes he got a little carried away with the way that he handled himself, the way that some of the things that he said about, especially when it came to like minorities and things like that. Like, I definitely don't agree with some of the ways that he handled it. And I don't really agree with the debating part of going out there and just having these arguments with people. I don't think that's a very conducive way to get people to open their hearts to Christ, to go and behave in that way. But I can say, yeah, he would very strongly proclaim the word of God to people, and I think that's what a lot of people, we got a lot of people behind him in that aspect.
I can appreciate the fact that you disagree with him so much, but you're still willing to have the dialogue, and I think that was kind of you know, some of the heart of what he was trying to do was have a dialogue. You know, I think in the vein of, you know, social media, right? It's like how we talk about debating things online and in that sort of forum, how that's unconducive to really, you know, forward progress. I think the point you're making is that, you know, him carrying a debate in front of, you know, hundreds if not thousands is not conducive, is kind of what a little bit of what you're saying.
And I just don't, I mean, like I said, I don't think he wasn't leading. To me, I don't feel like he led with, I'm here to talk about God,
to spread the gospel.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
The college campus stuff, no. I don't think that was the intent. I mean, as I saw his evolution, and like I said, I wasn't like avid follower, but I was familiar with him, and there was kind of an evolution if you followed his videos when he first started doing those college tours, where it was just a few people, and in fact, he wouldn't even be in like a big like open area. He'd be like on a sidewalk somewhere, and I think why he was so successful was that, and this is what I think he would say as far as like what the premises of why he did what he did was that when people stop talking, that's when you have violence.
Right.
And here we have, you know, on a college campus where like there this kind of phenomenon started happening with like these colleges that would turn into these riots when one group or the other, the Democrat college group, the Republican college group, this college group, that college group, they would have a speaker come on and people would be just indignant, like no, and they'd cause a riot and try to shut it down. So I think he started it in response to some of that of like, if we can come together and talk, and we might not agree, but at least we can share ideas, we're going to be in a good place. You know what I mean? At least going forward. And what you saw is this evolution of like people that like really were just kind of apathetic to like political thing and policy and things like that. Young people especially really started getting involved. And that's why you'd have these like little sidewalk sessions grow to these hundreds or thousands of people that were really engaged and wanted to hear two sides of an issue, debated. Right. And nobody has to agree with his position, but when you watch a lot of his videos, I mean, he's really like he's inviting people to come and give an open, position on what they believe.
Right.
And would even tell the crowd, be respectful. Be respectful to the, this person. If they started saying something, they get booed from the crowd or whatever, be respectful, So I think his sincerity of heart was there and in the right place. And I'll just be honest, I'll say that I commend him because I think a lot of people label him and call him names just because he's willing to discuss things and actually have a counterpoint. And like, so the one that always comes to mind for me is like DEI. Mm-hmm. So like DEI was a big thing because he challenged DEI and its merits. People immediately labeled him a racist. Mm-hmm. If you can't argue a policy on merit and you're shut down just by, oh no, you can't talk about that. If you talk about that or you don't think that's good policy, you're racist. Mm-hmm. Then it proves his point of why he was doing what he was doing. You need to be able to discuss things. There has to be able to be like a pro and a con to policy and things like that. And that was just one thing that he talked about. But I think it's people that probably weren't too familiar with his videos that gave him the label. You know what I mean? And what he was straight out when like you say like people would say, oh, why are you recording that? He goes, I record first for my protection, and secondly, so nobody can take any of this out of context. It's all on video. You can see it, you can hear it. And so I do commend him for that because I think we're in a place where it's like, there's some things that are a third rail. You're not allowed to touch it. You're not allowed to talk about it. I don't agree with that. And I really think things should be discussed. And I think that the heart of the topic is should be brought out to the forefront, and that we shouldn't just blanket and say, oh no, if you have a counterpoint to that, you're this, you're that.
Right.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I think part of it for me is to like, I mean, for him to go to these places, like he would prepare for his talking points and things like that. And you're arguing against kids that are just showing up to hear what you have to say and then give you 2 cents. I don't think anybody's doing their research beforehand to go have the arguments with it. So at some point it kind of felt a little one-sided to me that like
but also too, I mean, that thing would have shut down if nobody came out.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
I mean, there is no event if nobody comes to want to argue. And I don't know how many videos you've seen, but he gets spit on, he gets insulted, he gets all kind of stuff, and it's like people are passionate about, and I think he was always like, well, ask me a question or make a point. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss. Yeah. But again, if nobody showed up and engaged him, he's just one dude just sitting out there doing nothing.
And I think that's actually another good point is I think the way that you consumed what it is that he was talking about based on your algorithm maybe of what videos that you see, you could see a completely different person than I would see of this guy. You know what I mean? So we're painting, I don't think anybody, I mean, I'm sure there's some people that know him personally and know him closely, but I don't think anybody could say for sure, like, exactly who this guy is, what he was, what he did, how he held and carried himself with absolute certainty. Because at some point, I never went to one of his one of his debates. I'm sure none of us in this room have. So all we know about him and who he was and how he carried himself and what he truly believed is what we read, what we watch, and that can also be skewed just because of the way that social media is.
Yeah, no, I definitely believe that, and I think that's why kind of like the post history or the post look back at his life definitely has a couple different stories based on who's telling it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's hard too because you're mixing politics and religion, and I think that makes for a hard discussion.
The two things you shouldn't discuss at Thanksgiving, right? Well,
Yeah.
I think regardless of what part of the aisle you're really standing on, I think there's things that we can universally agree on. I think to celebrate somebody's death who was a husband and a father, I think that's reckless hate.
Right.
That feeds the narrative of the very thing you're arguing is that he was a hateful person and that's why he was shot and he should have been shot. You're being a hateful person by celebrating his death.
Right.
How does that make you, if you're putting stuff on scales, how does that make you any better?
Right.
You're already negating your point. So to that point, I think that it's like you do have to, we can all agree that, this man shouldn't have been killed.
Right.
He shouldn't have been killed as a father, as a husband, and as somebody who did really just engage in discourse. I mean, he was not calling for violence. He was not calling for people to go and, do all sorts of heinous acts or cause trouble. And, so at the end of the day, he was carrying on a discourse. Whether you agree with his message or not, he's having dialogue, which is what this nation was found upon. From the very beginning, there was discourse. The founding fathers didn't even agree on how the country should fully be governed. It took a lot of conventions. It took a lot of give and take to establish this beautiful country that we live in, the best country on planet Earth. And so that discourse has to continue, and it has to be able to continue in a healthy, in a peaceful way. But unfortunately, in the political climate that we live in, it's becoming far more divisive, far more aggressive, and far more violent. And unfortunately, I don't think Charlie Kirk will be the last one to suffer the fate of slaughter and to suffer the fate of violence and the effects of these things, because I think we're only going to increasingly see tumultuous and violent times as we get closer to the day of Jesus' return. I think it's only going to be more tumultuous.
Yeah. I think for me, part of the reason why I don't necessarily agree with the way that he handled that, at least from if we're gonna paint it with you're doing this in the name of Christianity brush, then I think part of it for me is because I don't know. I think we've talked about him before, but I watch a lot of Stuart and Cliff Connectly. I don't know if you've heard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I watch a lot of their videos, and they kind of did the same thing, but in a different way. They would go to these college campuses. It's a father and a son.
Yeah.
Past in Connecticut, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think pastors in Connecticut, and they'll go to college campuses and just have open dialogue with people, but based strictly on the Bible.
Yeah.
Just having this open dialogue conversation, letting people then give their opinions, ask their questions, and then watching them handle the way that they did that, and watching Charlie Kirk, I'm like, well, I think that Jesus wants us to be more like Cliff and Stuart. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think the way that they handled it, nobody was very rarely did I ever see anybody walk away pissed off and crazy and the crowd going nuts. It was more of like a peaceful, like, we can agree to disagree. This is this is what the Bible says. This is what I believe. You can challenge it if you want, but this is where my principles are.
Yeah, I think same like type of medium, same forum.
Right.
But I'd say it was different categories though.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody. I mean, maybe they do, and I don't know. But I don't think anybody's out there saying that like Charlie Kirk was out there preaching the gospel like that was his,
like a missionary,
as a missionary on those campuses. No, it was to have open debate about the issues that voters care about,
right,
and what the candidates at the time as it led up to the election, Harris and Trump,
right.
that they're two sides and have, open debate, and then just things that are really pertinent, for our times.
Right.
I think it's more his faith would come out sometimes.
That, yeah.
And I think from what I've heard is like his faith is something that has kind of developed and gotten stronger in the last several years. Not that his mission was to set out again to be some sort of missionary. No, I think he started this when he was a teenager, the turning point. His mission was to get young people more involved in politics, particularly, in conservatism. So I think it's a little bit too different. But yeah, same idea though.
Yeah,
and the father and son story, and what is it? Sorry.
Stuart and Cliff. Connectly.
Yeah, I think those are great videos too, because I think that is more of what's needed.
Yeah.
I think it's in the same vein of having people, and they've definitely took some hate. I don't see anybody take a swing at them, but there's people that were super disrespectful, but they're out there though,
right?
And that is what's needed. I think, just to be fearless enough to go and approach people that you can guess probably disagree with you, but at least get an exchange of ideas going and get someone to think. I mean, like it or not, Charlie Kirk was incredibly successful.
Oh, for sure.
And bringing young people into the political landscape.
100%.
Incredibly successful. And I would say not just for the conservative side, because he probably stirred up enough people that it couldn't stand his message enough to say, hey, let's vote against, you know what I mean?
Right.
But the fact that, when have you seen that? When have you seen college students, that were like deeply invested in discussing the issues of the day? That's unique.
I've never seen this level of investment in that in the way that you're speaking. I saw the big hype when Obama was running for president. Like I saw the big young people push, like young college student push to like get out to the polls and vote and like have a cool hip young president.
It's very like it's few and far between.
Right.
It really takes something to like inspire young people to want to get involved and not be apathetic. And Obama was definitely a ton of young people. But since then, not really so many until 2024, where you did have a big push again of young people, getting involved again. So, I think at the end of the day, that's always a pretty good thing.
I think too, like you said, I think even on the other aspect, I think for those that were already believers and that were following him, I think he fired them up too. Like I think he really did get people like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna be bold for Christ. Like I wanna have. He was like a mouthpiece for those people that didn't feel like in society nowadays they didn't feel like they had a voice to be able to voice what their beliefs are for Christianity and what they believe in the gospel. And I think he did really rally a lot of people behind that. Like this country was built on the foundation of God, and that's where we need to continue to put our values and our thoughts and our hearts is in that. And I think that, like I said, I think that did charge a lot of people up to get them behind that. And it just happened to intersect with politics at that point, I think.
For sure.
That's where I think it really got hard.
Yeah, for sure. I think, again, I kind of saw him in the very beginning, like when I didn't really know who he was, as like, oh, I think this guy's like, he's like an agitator.
Yeah.
But I don't think he was, though. I'll be honestly, just as it went on, I really did see him as somebody who wanted to just engage people. And I give him a lot of credit just for having the stones to do what he did a lot of times, because you're going to a place that you know is going to set off a firestorm of emotions. You're talking about abortion. You're talking about DEI. You're talking about transgenderism. And you, I mean, people, maybe it's some of the videos you see or the perspective, but honestly, and videos that I've seen, he's not like a firestorm against people. He's not like, I never saw him really like labeling, queer, get out of here. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, like I never saw him like name call.
Yeah.
I never saw him like berate people. He would get into intense debate, but I never saw him do that. And I've definitely seen quite a few reels and some fuller videos. So, I think if you don't know much about him, I think people might say agitator. Because I honestly thought that in the beginning.
Yeah.
I thought he was just an agitator. But then as I watched, I said, wow, I can see where I can see what the heart of the mission is. It's really to get people engaged.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, he was really heavy on the LGBTQ stuff too, and and we've talked about it, and it comes up a lot is just how big of an issue that is, especially more recently. I feel like than ever, like within our community and within the across the country, it's just kind of just become this huge. I don't know if I want to call it an epidemic, but it's just really become to the forefront of a lot of things within our country, and I think it's something that we as Christians don't handle very well. I mean, Charlie Kirk would definitely say that it's probably a mental health crisis at some level, and I think I agree. I actually agree with him on that. I think there's a lot of these people that are in that community that are probably going through some type of mental health issue or maybe are on the spectrum, maybe autism spectrum, and they're looking for acceptance, and where we, the church, should be those people that are open and accepting. I think the LGBTQ community is more opening and accepting, and I think that's why a lot of people end up flocking there. And I think we're missing out on those people that are lost, and I think he was right when it comes to that, for sure.
Yeah, and I think why this is drawing so much attention, of course, the political landscape we live in, it's one that, I mean, people are just more involved in chaos more than ever, and in politics, and in wanting to throw their opinions out just more than ever. I think the church community, the global church, is so stirred because, you know, he was a Christian, and he had such a platform. Whether or not his platform was established to evangelize people or move the conservative movement, I think originally it was started to draw people in a conservative way. And another byproduct of it, and the underlying mission, was that the gospel would be, you know, shared along the way. I would not call, you know, Turning Point USA's mission originally to, you know, create disciples. It was really to stir political involvement, but also with an evangelical undertone to it. And, you know, I think the church was so stirred because he's such a public figure, especially gaining a lot of spotlight recently. It was like the first, you know, kind of killing that people had really seen, where somebody was shot, and there was a lot of equation to he was shot because of his faith. And so that label martyr flew out really, really quickly, that he was a martyr. And somebody actually texted me really upset that, you know, this is causing such a stir, that the church is so stirred by the killing of Charlie Kirk, but yet on a global scale, we're not stirred by the killing and martyrdom of Christians all over the globe on a daily basis, you know. And to that point, I would say I think it's exposure. You know, I think especially the American church, there's not a ton of persecution. It is forthcoming, and I think it is increasing. However, relatively speaking, persecution in the American church, especially compared to most of the world, is relatively low. And I think it's people's first exposure to like a real persecution of somebody. And it was a dual-forked persecution because of his political leaning, because of his faith. You know, you do have to just marry the two. You can't say one or the other right now. But, you know, I think people were just stirred by it because of how much they feel like they know him, whether they followed his reels or just knew him in a public way. You know, and I do think that we need to have a more sober mind about persecution in the global church, and also the fact that, like, we should be more bold and outward in a loving in a loving way to be sharing the gospel and getting out there. And I do think that in light of this, you know, assassination, I do find that people are more stirred and more ready to dive in and really start committing their lives in a more real and meaningful way, that they are stirred to become more bold and more outward about their faith. And to that, I think that's a great byproduct of this, no matter what you feel about the guy or where he really stood. I even think I personally got to say I really love that after this assassination and after such a world kind of shaping event, right, that the reaction of the church was prayer, was fasting, was peace, was vigil. Yeah, discourse is discourse and arguments are arguments, disagreements are disagreements. But you didn't see violence stirred up. You didn't see chaos. You didn't see buildings being burned and all these different things. But that the church turned to peace. I think that was a beautiful thing to really witness in light of all of this. So, I think that there are good things that are being pulled from this. I do think you also see, again, with everything, when you're talking about politics and religion, I think people's bad sides really come out, whether they're Christian or not.
Right.
And that's why I encourage people who are Christians to just be responsible in how you discourse and how you engage in this stuff. If you want to honor the man that you call Charlie Kirk and the man that you call martyr and the man that you call, a believer in Christ, you would discourse with people in a respectful way, and honor what he would have you do. To kind of just get right into, name calling again, we've talked about this a million times. When you get into name calling, you've disqualified everything you're about to say right after that name. So, I think these things are important. I think there's a lot of good. Of course, there's always some negative. There's always drama and chaos and stuff. But, I think we got to live in balance, and we got to live in the balance of these things in a mature way, in the way that we process and discourse and dialogue about them.
That's a good point because sorry, Ken, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
It's a good point but the thing I want to add is for those that were stirred by this man, that doesn't necessarily mean all your other brothers and sisters in Christ were stirred by this person in the same way and believed that same thing. So, and that was the part that I had a hard time with because there was a lot of people that I call brother and sister that said some things that really made me feel like, oh, we're not on the same team. Like you're now I'm being labeled as something that I know I'm not. Like just because I didn't believe that this guy was a martyr and all these things, now I'm being labeled as evil. I'm being labeled as a demon, and that hurt me. That didn't stir me up. That kind of shut me down. It was like, oh, I'm kind of gonna close up for a little bit. So I think, like you said, the point, part of your point, Daniel, is just being conscientious of the things that you're saying and choosing your words wisely, choosing the way that you're reacting wisely. And obviously, because of the way that this tragedy happened and because of how widespread it was, how just traumatic it was, I think it did stir a lot of emotion. But you have people on both sides that they might not see things the same way that you do, and not that everything's needs to be gatekept and you're not really in control of everybody else's emotions, but just be conscientious of the things that you're saying to people. I'd say.
Yeah, I was just going to say, something that you had shared today, Daniel, in the office, another pastor in our area, and, who did not talk about it on the Sunday after it happened,
Mm-hmm.
and then, talked about how, the following Sunday, why he didn't, and how, 3 people at his church said, if you talk about this, I'm leaving, I mean, boy, I would say, there's the door. You know what I mean? And not that in defense of Charlie Kirk, but in defense of anything, because I think things like this should be talked about in some way and in some light.
Right.
Major things that affect the whole nation and the whole world should be addressed somehow. But I think you made a great point a few minutes ago where you're saying how, the acceptance part, you know what I mean? And I think as believers and just even the counter to somebody saying, don't talk about this, if you talk about this, I'm leaving, is the fact that if Christians, and if anything we can take away from Charlie Kirk, I think is that his willingness to engage people that he knew disagreed with him off the bat. You know, I think that's where the church has failed for a long time. I think we've just kind of hidden in the four walls and been unwilling to engage people that made us feel uncomfortable, you know, in one way or another. Or we saw us as, you know, hostile, or who thought that we were hostile towards them or whatever. And that he's right. When you stop doing that, forget it. The gospel's not going anywhere, because as much as the gospel's lived out, it's also in word too. And if I can't even like get, you know, somebody to the same place of just having a dialogue with, we're screwed. You know what I mean? And so I think that was a great point made by you, and I think that was a really lasting impression made by him, and I think one that Christians should really, if any, they take that one, because he was willing to engage people that he knew way beforehand were going to disagree with him. And I don't believe it was in a way to try to shame them or make them look silly. I think it really was to engage, and, you know, and exchange ideas, as passionate as difficult it could be, and as, you know, as fired up his people would get. But there was a willingness there, and I think the church should not lose that. I think we need to be willing to invite people to talk and have an exchange, you know, so that we can share the heart. I want to hear from the boys in the booth. Sorry if I cut anybody off.
You're good.
John, you're a young man, and I know Charlie Kirk was certainly an influence on people of your age, you know, bringing them into the political landscape. What do you got, John?
Well, I think as somebody that was definitely part of his target demographic, you know, just starting to voted in my first presidential election. So I think he was definitely someone that was able to influence my decisions, and not necessarily flip them or change them on how I originally thought, but kind of just get like a boldness for what I believe in and standing on what I believe. And so I think seeing someone so bold that also not even has political but also biblical truth and biblical values, something similar to that, like that I believe and stand on, seeing something like that happen to him is just definitely shocking. And not to say that he was a martyr, or I don't think that he wasn't like, what he was doing wasn't to spread the gospel. I think he was doing something that he enjoyed, and he found a way to spread the gospel through it.
That's a good point.
Jake, how about you, bud?
I think it was definitely a tragedy. Just, you know, every angle of every scene that was there that day. Even like the scenes in the very back, like there was videos that I'm catching now on TikTok where like the screams were heard. It's just like, it's horrifying to think about. People looked up to this gentleman, and like John said, and you guys have said, you know, he took a stand and he was really bold with, you know, all of his opinions, and he did stand on biblical truth.
That's the other thing. There's however many people that were there. Like, how traumatizing is that? Like,
was his wife like right there in attendance? Like, right? Yeah, like right up close. Like, I mean, I just can't even imagine, man. I just can't even imagine.
It's the worst thing I've ever seen. I obviously wasn't alive for JFK. I don't know I don't know how.
How old do you
I'm
think
not
I am,
good at
guy?
history. I'm not a big
How old
history guy. Jake, what was JFK?
November 22nd, 1963.
There you go.
I was still a ways away.
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't really seen anything like that. Nothing. I mean, the 9/11 is probably the biggest thing that's ever happened in my lifetime. You know what I mean? So, it's like to see something like that, and then just to see it everywhere. Yeah. It's like it's a whole different ball game now than it was even for 9/11. That's however many years ago that was. Like, I didn't even know what was happening until I got home from school and had to have somebody like explain it to me and sit down and watch it on TV. Like, you had to wait till the news was on to see it.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So it was like everybody got alerted. Like, when it happened, it was like an alert that went to everybody's phone. You know what I mean? Yeah, so that was wild. I think you had
you were going to say something.
Yeah, no, just speaking to your point, right? You were saying before that, you know, you fell on the opposite side of the spectrum, right? That you weren't really a fan of Charlie Kirk. You didn't really stand by some of the things he said, and you were hurt by the way that, you know, Christians reacted to the situation, you know, calling people who disagree with Charlie Kirk or any things like that, like demon and whatnot. And so again, I think a lot of the reason why we set out to do this podcast was to talk about these things and to have dialogue, especially I mean, again, to go with my earlier point, I appreciate that you oftentimes do have a different opinion, and that we can sit here and that we can have like a dialogue about it and still hug each other afterwards and not hate each other, not walk away upset with each other. So I do appreciate that, but I do think some of the things that we do oftentimes is rebuke Christians on here because that's important. And so I think to the Christians who, again, we have to control what's in our control, and that's our reactions, that's our words, that's the way that we speak and our influence. And so if your reaction is to call people who disagree with you a demon, to call people who disagree with you and name call and publicly shame them, shame on you. We rebuke that because that's not the proper way to handle it. Again, I think extreme reactions cause extreme reactions. And so I think you'll have a lot of Christians who are seeing people celebrate the death of Charlie Kirk, and they're calling those people demons, but not realizing that their words also carry weight for the people who maybe disagree, like you. I mean, you're not sitting here celebrating that Charlie Kirk died.
No, never.
You're not happy that his family, is suffering the loss of a husband, a father.
Right.
You're not doing that. You disagree with him, and you can wholeheartedly say that you didn't
Right.
stand by the things that he really stood for or his messaging and stuff. But you can separate that from the fact that you didn't want to see him killed.
Of course.
But the words that people have celebrating, not celebrating, but the words that people were saying that were, calling anybody who disagreed with Charlie demons or, any of these things that did hurt you. I think that's what we have to control, our reactions. We have to control the way that the world's going to look to see how the church handles these things. And again, I think that the church did a good job in terms of the outward reaction. They're not being this crazy stirring or, murders or violence or anything. I think that was great. But I think, we also have to cut deeper and understand that our words, have meaning. And, Matthew 5:21 through 22, Jesus is, basically just got done, with the sermon, the Beatitudes. And he goes, "You have heard it said that our ancestors were told you must not murder. If you commit murder, you are subject to judgment. But I say, if you are even angry with someone, you are subject to judgment. If you call someone an idiot, you are in danger of being brought before the court. And if you curse someone, you are in danger of the fires of hell." And that our reaction, our words, if we have hatred for our brother, and I think a lot of Christians got very bold and sometimes a little bit too bold of an aggressive way, if you will, that understanding what Jesus taught about, that we still do have to love our brother and sister, love our neighbor, and live by those teachings no matter what happens, because more persecution is going to come. That doesn't mean that we let up on truth. That doesn't mean that we decrease in boldness. If anything, we increase truth, we increase boldness, but in the same way, we also increase our love for thy neighbor. We also increase respect. We also increase because we have to be people of character if our message is going to hold any weight. Otherwise, we undermine the spirit of truth that comes out of our mouth. So, I think that it's, again, it's something I really come back to a lot, and that we come back to a lot, is being able to control our reaction and how we talk about things and how we dialogue about these things, whether publicly on the internet, privately with each other, however it is. I think it's important that we control ourselves, because that's really the only thing that you have direct control over is yourself.
And I think something like this, it obviously elicits a big emotional response.
100%.
Knee-jerk reactions. And that's where you see, like, immediately people posting and doing all these things and saying all these things. That's died down completely, because I think now you've had an opportunity to kind of sift through it. You had an opportunity to think about it and look at it. I didn't post anything, because either way, I knew I had to do some soul searching. I had to do some figuring out, because it was a very tragic thing that happened, and I just really wanted to make sure I fully understood, like, before I've condemned this person to say, you know what, I completely don't agree with you. You're not a redeemable person, or not a good person in my eyes. I want to really make sure I understood who this person was. And I don't think that happens very often. I don't think there's a lot of digging deep, and the thing that I came out, actually you just preached on it, Ken. At this point you'll be have wrapped up this series that you're on. But the thing that I came to, you just preached it this past Sunday was Matthew 23, where he basically he says that the teachers of the law and the Pharisees have the authority to tell you what the law of Moses says, so you should obey them, do everything they tell you to do, but their lives are not good examples for you to follow.
Yeah.
I didn't agree with the way that this guy handled his life and the fact that these debates and doing all these things and then trying to fall back and say, but this is in the name of God. This is all based on biblical truths. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I agree with what the Bible says. And if he wanted to preach the Bible, he wanted to bring the Bible into it. Well, I'll agree with that aspect of it, but I'm not going to live the way that you chose to live and the way that you chose to handle it. But I will live by what the Bible tells, what the Bible says.
You're like our Charlie Kirk.
I am.
Yeah, just on the opposite.
Maybe, dude. Maybe. But I mean, this is exactly...
You're Carly Kirk.
You know why I say it, though? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think I ever told you this. So, and as a pastor,
yeah.
I've rarely gotten hate mail, okay?
No way, dude.
But the most hate mail I ever got was during COVID.
Oh, yeah?
And I legit did. Like,
really?
Daniel will tell you, like, people were losing their minds.
Yeah?
And we couldn't do anything right. We closed the church for a little while. We're government pawns and all this stuff.
Yeah.
We opened the church. We're crazy because we're going to kill everybody. It was like the second most amount of hate I got is when listeners of this podcast found out you voted for Kamala.
No way.
I'm dead serious.
No way.
I'm dead serious.
Hey.
But I have your back.
Attaboy.
And I love you, and I
love you too.
I defended you, and even though we don't have a lot of the same political beliefs, I was real about it. I said that this is a realistic view of the church, especially in the Northeast.
Yeah.
It's 50-50, 60-40. That's the way it is. That's the way it's going to be. That can't be a dividing point, when it comes to the gospel and the things of God. We still need to figure out how we accomplish this mission together.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And so I just don't want to let you know you're our Charlie Kirk.
That's damn, dude. I gotta
dead serious. I took no. I took.
Oh my God.
I gotta start going to the Pope Mobile, dude.
I took no less than 3 calls after that episode.
No kidding. Well, listen. Whoever those 3 callers were, I just want you to know I love you, first of all. And second of all, you can find me on social media at Josh Talks. You can hit me up whenever.
At me, baby. At me.
we can have a discussion about it. But I mean, and that's
I was one of those people.
You know what, Johnny? I'm never golfing with you ever again, dude. But no, but it's a great point, Ken, because what you said before was open a dialogue. Listen, I'm just a person just like everybody else. I'm not saying that I'm perfect and that I live my life in this impeccable way that you need to live just like me. But we all have our own opinions, and it's based off of many different things and the way that we were brought up, our cultures. But our hearts need to stay in that same foundation, and that's really what Matthew 23 I think is getting at. It's really been a pivotal part of your messaging that you've been bringing at church lately. And I think that's key. I think it's key that we can have these dialogues and talk to one another about these things.
You'll find out some days that this whole podcast was just a ruse to red pill you.
Yeah?
Oh, my God.
Speaking of conspiracy theories, Jake.
Oh, God.
We probably only have time
for... go another 4 hours.
No, we probably only have time for one.
Yeah.
And please, not so fringe. Like, the less fringy, the better.
Yeah. Now, let's do this one. So, who shot this guy? Who shot Charlie Kirk?
We don't really know.
Who do you think?
You know, Jake.
Who do you think did it?
There's a lot of different theories out there. A lot of people are saying it was his mic that imploded. There was no bullet found. There was a detonator.
What about the hand signals?
That was involved with a detonator, potentially.
I saw the hand
signals.
Oh,
is the they say the detonator was in the guy's sleeve? Is that what that was?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the brown coat. And then after there was a pass off of something from the guy who slid over the table and ran off.
The table slide. That was a heck of a slide.
Check that out.
But
I do wanna just bring light to something that a lot of people are saying, on the other side of things, which is known as predictive programming, which goes way back to the 80s, with The Simpsons predicting 9/11 with the the Twin Towers on the newspaper.
This one's wild. I'm gonna be on. I'm being
Oh,
100%
hold on.
honest.
You know about this?
Well, I think it's where he's
All
going.
right, hold
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Hold on. This is Jake's conspiracy corner. Cue the music.
So
now
I am just
JCC.
I'm just gonna quote. This is what the definition of predictive programming means. It's the idea of governments or elite groups that use fictional media like movies, TV shows, books, and games to condition the public to accept the future of pre-planned events. So there was a movie that came out
Stay on the mic.
in
Stay on the mic.
1998. Nicolas Cage was the lead star, and his name was Charlie Kirkland. In the movie, he was a politician who actually died from a gunshot wound to the same side of the neck that Charlie Kirk died from. That took place at the Taj Mahal, which was owned by Trump at the time, and it took place in September. The boxing match that he was killed at.
Wait, the Taj Mahal Casino?
Yeah,
Correct.
the casino.
Okay,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the Taj
Come
Mahal.
So
Hit it, Johnny.
So the killer and actually the boxer that was involved was the Atlantic City executioner Tyler, and then it was Ruiz, and the victim, it was Charlie Kirkland, who was the lead actor. So that kind of goes in line with predictive programming if you look at it in that respect, and this is all respect to his passing. I don't wish that upon anybody, and I don't treat this like a game, but I do look at the dots, and if things do connect, I like to go down those trails. So there was actually an Illumination card game that was made, and I do have some photos that I'd like to share.
Illumination or Illuminati?
So it's the Illumination card game, but people will call it the Illuminati card game. It was a banned card game, and there's cards like Terrorist Nuke, the Pentagon Explosion.
I've seen these cards. I know these.
And there's an
cards.
epidemic one. I have them right here. There's a charismatic leader, which they say looks like Trump. And they basically...
Yeah, that circle really represents his head.
So let's just wait.
Oh, wait, that's the back?
So
of his
this
head?
is the
I was
terrorist
lost.
nuke. This was released in 1995. This is the terrorist nuke, and what does that look like to you guys?
Can you blow it up?
Looks like the buildings from GTA.
Oh yeah, you're right. So 1 second, let's go into this.
There you go.
So yeah, pretty much it looks like two towers, right? And a pretty clear image of where the plane hit.
We're off the walls.
So
dude.
I've
let's
seen
go
this.
into,
I've seen this.
This is another card. It's Enough is Enough. What face does that look like? This was back in 1995. This was created. It says, at any time, at any place, our snipers will drop you. Have a nice day. And another one.
I still don't know who that looks like.
This is Trump's face right on top of it.
Oh, okay. That's supposed to be
So-
Trump. That's what I kind of thought.
And then Kill for Peace. Who does that look like on the ground?
You gotta blow it up because you're.
Let's see.
Wow, that's actually kind of crazy.
Oh, John's convinced.
Oh no.
That is kind of crazy, though.
I don't necessarily believe a lot of this stuff, but some of the dots do line up. So I just wanted to share my perspective on the opposite side and the opposite direction for any viewers that wanted to go down and just search different types of things.
I've
So-
seen these cards and they definitely they pop back up every time there's like a major
Really?
cataclysmic event. Yeah.
Yeah, Quarantine was one right here. So it talks about that's on eBay. It talks about
you
the
buying 'em?
epidemic.
Shout out to eBay, sponsor the pod.
Yeah, no. Every time there's they popped up with 9/11, they popped up with COVID,
That's
and
crazy.
so they're popping up again now with this. I will say I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist guy, but the Snake Eyes movie though is pretty wild.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a wild coincidence that the guy who is the alleged shooter, has the name of the guy that was killed. And happened in September. They were trying to fudge that one, saying it happened on the same day in the movie, but the movie is actually September 19th. That takes place then. He was obviously killed on September 10th. So
I'm just waiting to see how this all unfolds. I'm not. I've seen a lot of the
It's
videos.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I think
Yeah.
I think we live in the age where there's just so much information.
Yeah.
Which again can be a conspiracy theory of its own, that there's just trying to flood so much information
Yeah.
that you don't even know what's real, so you just consume what they're telling you is real. You know, so that in and of itself is a conspiracy theory. I mean, you can follow Candace Owens' rabbit trail that she's going down. You know, you can follow the Bibi Netanyahu being, you know, in Mossad.
Don't get John started.
You can you can follow you know, just so many different rabbit holes of conspiracies. I mean, I don't really know what's conducive to really following down those rabbit holes, but I think we live in the age where it's only going to become more confusing to understand what's reality and what's not.
Yeah.
Just be ready.
Especially
be ready.
with AI, dude.
Be ready, because it's only going to get worse.
Another wrinkle is that we're talking about Snake Eyes starring Nicolas Cage, and that's the celebrity that I've been most told in my life that I look like.
Mine's Ryan Gosling.
That's not.
Who's yours?
Why don't you tell me, Ken? Who do you think I look like?
Well, I don't know that you look like anybody, but I believe you've been told Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill so many times, dude.
Yeah.
Look like the Rizzler.
Daniel was always told Pee Wee Herman. So.
Oh my God, dude! Don't compare me to that pervert,
goodness, dude.
I think we may have to pull up a conspiracy theory episode one day.
That might need to be a bonus drop in somewhere.
I'm thinking
that's for Patreon
like
subscribers.
the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect.
Oh,
Keep going to
Mandela.
the
that one
Bermuda
really
Triangle.
that one screws me up.
That one screws me up, man.
I'm into
Berenstein Bears gets me every time.
It's the fruit of the loom.
The cornucopia, dude. The cornucopia.
That's
That
like
one.
the one.
That one got me.
Dude, I remember as a kid having Fruit of the Loom underwear, dude, and just like sitting there looking at it and like, what is this thing with the
that
fruits?
cornucopia was so prominent,
For sure.
and now it's not there. Bullcrap.
For sure.
Yeah, something's not
Monopoly
right.
guy.
Something's not.
Doesn't wear the
monocle. There was a monocle.
Berenstein Bears, man. The way they spell that. It's like,
Berenstain Bears.
Yeah, no, something's not right, dude.
So.
All right, enough conspiracies.
All right.
Do we have a KTT?
Yeah, I mean, I think the KTT. For
Wait. I'm so sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
This is what pre-episode I held off to say.
Oh.
There's a contest. Somebody contested.
A contest?
There's a contestant. I was gonna say a contestation. A constantation.
Somebody's contesting something.
Somebody's contesting.
Constantinople.
So, a friend of the pod, Celso Oliveira.
Oh yeah. This is. Oh, we got a conspiracy theory here.
We got a conspiracy theory. He claims. His claim to fame is that he is the starter of KTT.
Josh's face.
So, Josh, I need
How?
Carly Chirklin, I need you to whatever it is.
I need some
I need you to
explanation.
debate.
I would need some
You
explanation.
need some context.
What did he say exactly?
Let me see.
He texted you, right? Or
Yeah, let me see if my iPad loaded it. I don't know if I have it fully loaded here.
And Celso, a friend of the pod.
I'm offended. Josh didn't come up with KTT. That was me in a comment. I hashtagged it. LOL.
That was after the KTTs were already a thing.
So maybe you asked Ken for like
well, I
tangible
know he
takeaway,
came up with
but
Ken's
maybe,
tangible takeaway.
But maybe he came up with KTT.
Was he
what
the
he's
first
saying?
one that hashtagged it for KTT?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. But the issue is, so we record these episodes about a month in advance. My intellectual property is my own.
Conspiracy theory debunked.
At him at Josh Talks.
At me, bro.
Fact check the metadata.
Conspiracy theory debunked.
Love
all right.
yourself.
All right,
So-
let's get to the KTT.
Yeah, the
Put on that music.
Put on the music. Okay. Yeah, the KTT is, I think we can rack our brains going crazy with, like, the conspiracy theories and the hows and the whys. And I know those things can be fun at times, but I think we can also just use a lot of, brain space, peace space, energy space on useless and fruitless things. And the fact of the matter is that the only truth that matters is the truth of God.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And so, we spend so much time. We are definitely so easily led astray and fooled by the enemy, who's the deceiver, that he would have us so quick to hate one another and be at odds with one another.
100%.
When God clearly says that vengeance is his, and, just to paraphrase that and put my own little twist on it, is that he'll sort out the laundry. You know what I mean? We that's not our place to do that. We can certainly have spirited debate and we can have strong opinions and be passionate about stuff, but at the end of the day, vengeance is his. And I will say confidently that on Judgment Day, there is bound to be a lot of surprises. There's bound to be a lot of surprises. And that's backed up by a story that Jesus tells about in that day, like the day of judgment. There are many that will come to him saying, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? Did we not heal sick in your name? Did we not cast out demons in your name? And I will say, depart from me, I never knew you, workers of iniquity. So at the end of the day, we really need to focus on the Lord's truth. The end of Matthew 25, which I preached about recently, where a little microcosm of Judgment Day, when the king comes back with his angels and he brings all the nations before him, he separates goats from sheep, goats on left, sheep on right, and he really qualifies their faith with, their willingness to really care, as Jesus says, for the least of these, my brethren. You know what I mean? Right. So that's where our heart should be at. We should be at caring for people, loving people, sharing the hope of Jesus with them, and let God sort out the laundry.
Amen.
Amen.
KTT.
Beautiful.
Hashtag. Man, this was a good conversation. I'm glad we got to do this together, because I tried to reserve having this talk with too many other people, and I really wanted to talk to you guys about it, so I'm glad we got to do this. And
absolutely,
let's not let topics like this divide us.
I can't stand you, I'll be honest.
You know what, dude?
Hashtag our Charlie Kirk.
What's
gonna get that trending?
Carly Chirk?
Carly Chirk.
Carly Chirk.
Yeah, call me Carly Chirk from now on.
Hey, Carly.
Oh, man, but... Yeah, this was a great conversation. I'm glad we got to do this together, and like I said, I hope that those believers, those that have been spurred up by what is taking place, don't lose that fire. I hope that it really does help people to continue to just be bold for God. But just remember, do it wisely. Do it with be conscientious about the things that you're saying and who you're saying it to. But let it be based in the gospel. Let it be based in the word.
Do it with love and peace. That's what I always say.
I say do it with peace and love.
Oh, real quick, too. Drop a comment if anybody knows my Garbage Pail Kids stickers over here.
So niche.
If you notice my Garbage Pail Kids stickers, drop a comment, because that's a throwback. That's a big throwback.
As many people will know that as they will the Illumination card game.
You're going to be surprised, dude. You're going to be surprised.
Back when we had real good toys.
Drop your...
Back in my day, we had paper cards to play with.
Uphill in the snow both ways. But seriously, drop your favorite Garbage Pail Kid in the comments. Let's go. All right, we out. The Not Safe for Sunday podcast is recorded in the loft. Our production team is Spencer Berriman, Jacob McCall, and John Walsh. You can find us on social media at NSFS Podcast. If you'd like to join us for a Sunday service, you can find us at Conquerors for Christ Church, located at 972 Reed Road in North Dartmouth, Massachusetts.